Fast fashion, the industry that brings trendy, affordable clothes to consumers at lightning speed. But behind the glossy store displays and cheap price tags lies a darker reality. Bangladesh, one of the largest suppliers of fast fashion, has become synonymous with exploited labor and unsafe working conditions. Today we're uncovering the hidden cost of our cheap clothes and the lives impacted by the fast fashion machine. Fast fashion is a model where brands rapidly produce low-cost, trendy clothing inspired by the latest runway and social media styles. It's all about delivering new styles to consumers quickly and at rock-bottom prices. But while fast fashion is convenient and affordable, it relies heavily on mass production and cheap labor, often from developing countries. Bangladesh is one of the largest hubs for fast fashion manufacturing, with thousands of factories producing millions of garments every year. But for the workers, many of them women and children, the true cost of fast fashion is paid in sweat, hardship, and often, their safety. The majority of Bangladesh's garment factories employ people in grueling conditions. Workers often endure 10 to 14-hour shifts, 6 days a week, for as little as $2 a day. These factories are often overcrowded, poorly ventilated, and lack basic safety measures. For many, the work is physically exhausting and mentally draining. The repetitive nature of the tasks, combined with strict production quotas, means workers are under constant pressure to meet demands, often sacrificing their health and well-being. One of the most tragic events in the garment industry happened on April 24, 2013, when the Rana Plaza building in Dhaka collapsed. This factory complex housed multiple garment manufacturing units that supplied clothing to major global brands. Despite visible cracks in the building, workers were forced to enter, and hours later, the building crumbled, killing over 1,100 people and injuring thousands more. The Rana Plaza tragedy was a wake-up call to the world, exposing the dangerous conditions garment workers face. It highlighted the negligence of factory owners and the brands who prioritize profits over worker safety. While the tragedy sparked some changes, many workers still face similar risks today. For garment workers in Bangladesh, making cheap clothes for the global market means sacrificing basic rights and living in poverty. Many are paid less than the minimum wage and lack job security or access to healthcare. The wages are so low that workers often struggle to provide for their families, sometimes even going without food. In many cases, young children are also employed to keep production costs down. They often work long hours, sacrificing their education and health. For these families, the cycle of poverty continues as the next generation is forced into the same low-paying jobs, with little hope for change. The fast fashion industry doesn't just exploit people, it also takes a toll on the environment. Textile factories release toxic chemicals into rivers and waterways, leading to severe pollution in nearby communities. The industry also generates massive amounts of waste, with tons of clothing ending up in landfills every year. Bangladesh's rivers, once a source of livelihood, are now heavily polluted with dyes and chemicals from garment factories. The environmental degradation has destroyed ecosystems and put local communities at risk, highlighting another dark side of fast fashion. Many major brands source their products from factories in Bangladesh. While some have taken steps to improve working conditions and monitor supply chains, critics argue that these changes are superficial. Brands continue to demand high output at low costs, which forces factory owners to cut corners and keep wages low. Brands make billions of dollars from fast fashion, while the workers making these clothes are left with barely enough to survive. There is growing pressure on brands to take responsibility, but as long as the demand for cheap fashion remains high, the exploitation is likely to continue. So, what can we do to support change in the industry? One of the most effective steps is to be mindful of our shopping habits. By choosing quality over quantity, buying from ethical brands, and supporting secondhand stores, we can reduce our reliance on fast fashion and help break the cycle of exploitation. Supporting organizations that advocate for workers' rights and holding brands accountable for their labor practices are also ways we can contribute to positive change. As consumers, we have the power to demand transparency and push brands toward ethical practices. Behind every cheap t-shirt or pair of jeans, there's a story. A story of people working long hours, of dangerous factory conditions, and of an environment paying the price. The convenience of fast fashion comes at a tremendous cost. It's up to us, as consumers, to recognize this reality and make choices that support a fairer, more sustainable world. If this video made you think differently about fast fashion, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Let's continue the conversation on how we can support ethical fashion and create a better future for everyone involved.